This week on London Real, we have astrophysicist Neil deGrasse Tyson.
I wake up every morning astonished that an astrophysicist can have 1.7 million Twitter followers. The cosmos is anything where it's a frontier of human knowledge of how the world works. There's so many forces that want to deny a scientific truth just because it conflicts with their ideology. I thought of myself, because I could wrestle, as sort of a defender of geeks. There is no teacher in any time in my life, from kindergarten through 12th grade and beyond, who ever would have said, he'll go far. And the act of finding out is the lesson, not the lesson itself.
On Sunday, London Real presents Neil deGrasse Tyson, Cosmos.
I'm happy to report that there's an appetite for the cosmos out there.
Welcome back to London Real. I am here at the Royal Observatory in Greenwich in honor of this week's guest. If you haven't been up here, it's an amazing place, and it has unique views of the city of London. You can see behind me here the O2 Arena, of course, Canary Wharf, where all the bank buildings are, and then you can see the city of London. London Real Studios are over there somewhere. You can see the Thames, and it's really amazing up here. It's also the home of Greenwich Mean Time, which is right behind me. You can walk and have 1 foot on one side of the hemisphere and 1 foot on the other side. And it's really a fantastic place. There's tons of history, including this housing up there where there's a Victorian telescope that's 28 inches wide and 28 feet long. And this was the place back in the day, you know, where discoveries were being made and planets were being tracked. And it's a really exciting place to kind of come up and check out. So if you do come to London, definitely make your way up here. And the Greenwich Park behind me, it's stunning. If you haven't guessed already, this week's guest is a very special dude. His name is Mr. Neil deGrasse Tyson. He is an astrophysicist and so much more. He has a way of transcending his scientific choice of career into becoming something available to almost everyone in the world. And I just don't know exactly what it is. Maybe it's his charisma or his passion. But he has a way of bringing everyone together and getting them excited about science. And he's got a new television show coming out called Cosmos, which is a reboot of the original Cosmos, which was by a guy named Carl Sagan, who back in the 80s also transcended everything. And I remember my mom in San Diego walking around the house, and I told Neil this during the interview, saying, billions and billions and billions of stars. And she would kind of get up in my face about it. And she was obviously inspired by everything that Carl did. And Neil will talk about when he first met Carl at the campus of Cornell University, a place that I also visited in 1989 to consider it as a possible school for me. But along with Neil, I passed on that school and went somewhere else. Funny enough, we both found ourselves sooner or later in Boston. And it's just a kind of a crazy turn of events that now Neil is kind of following in the footsteps of a guy that he met when he was 17 or 18 years of age. So it was a fantastic sit down with Neil, really special for us. We did it off-site, so you can see kind of the plush interior of the Soho Hotel in London. It's good to kind of get me out of the studio, and it was unfortunately necessary for someone of a caliber of Neil. We couldn't get him down to the studio. He was doing press all day, so it was really lucky we got some time with him. And I think this is a really unique interview. I've watched a lot of them about him, but he really talks about him growing up at the Bronx School of Science, which is quite a well-known institution, and living in New York City, and how he was intrigued with science, and how Twitter was built for him, how he always thinks in 140-character thoughts, and how his tweets are his own. And they are really not answers to anyone else, but really just him condensing his thoughts. He also talks about wrestling in high school, which I did as well, and he even put me in a mean headlock at the end of the interview, which you probably saw pictures of. And finally, I hit him with the London Real question as far as advice to his 20-year-old self, and he really had a passionate discussion about how he thinks that that children need to make their own mistakes and to live their own lives, and especially when it comes to immigrant parents, he was saying that a lot of times they want to protect their children and give them their money when in fact they need to go through the same struggle that they went through. And I thought it was a really interesting observation and something I didn't expect from Mr. Tyson. So I think you're going to really enjoy it. So please let me know your thoughts on this and tweet at me what you think. Hopefully we'll be doing more of these off-site. As you probably know, we are sponsored by the good folks at Bulletproof. And not only do they make a very mean coffee that I drink every morning, which is free of molds and toxins, and then combined with grass-fed butter and their MCT oil, which is a brain octane oil that has kind of 18 times the nutrients of a coconut oil. But they also do other things. You know, some call them a biohacking company, but it's much more than that. And we're going to have a few videos coming out, giving you a few little teasers now about sleep hacking. And they have just some fantastic general advice when it comes to your sleep. And you know, we had Mike Dolce on last week, and he, of all people, a man that specializes in nutrition and fitness, says that sleep is probably the most important thing you can do. And I really shoot for my 8, maybe 9 hours a night. And it's also the sleep quality that's very important for you. So everyone in my household, including the 9-year-old, has been tracking our sleep every night on our iPhone apps. It's the Sleep Cycle app. Actually doesn't have anything to do with Bulletproof. You can just get it for free. And I highly recommend that you start tracking your sleep, and stay tuned for some of these videos where we're going to be going through basic stuff of sleep hacking, and then a few extra things you can do, and even a few products like the sleep induction mat, which I lay on now every night before I go to bed. It's got kind of spikes on the back of it, and it gets your back and your mind all relaxed before you go to sleep. So more to come on that. Just wanted to thank the guys at Bulletproof. They make this show happen. They've been big sponsors of us from the start, and we're big fans of theirs. So there you go. And now I'm going to leave you with this tremendous sight of London in all its glory. Like I said, if you're coming to the city, make the trip out here and take a look. A lot of people just see the West End and see Parliament, but there's special places all around here. And that's me out. If you are feeling our show and watching this on YouTube, please click on the subscribe button. It really helps us out a lot. And leave us some comments. Come on Facebook and Twitter and follow us there. I wanted to give a big shout out to Jenny Heaton from Fox International for making this this interview happen with Neil deGrasse Tyson. And you know, it's just great when we are an option along with the BBC and a bunch of other video media. It's great to know that London Real is right up there. So thanks to them, we're going to get you more of those crazy celebrity type guests, and then more real people with real stories, and more from people you've never heard of. So it's a little bit of everything here at London Real. And now I'm going to leave you with the one and only Mr. Neil deGrasse Tyson. Okay, here we go. Yeah. This is London Real. I am Brian Rose. My guest today is Dr. Neil deGrasse Tyson.
Good morning.
Nice to meet you, and good morning here in London. You are an astrophysicist, a cosmologist, an author. You're also the director of the Hayden Planetarium
in New York City.
American Museum of Natural History in New York City. Mm-hmm. You are America's most popular scientist. You were voted the sexiest astrophysicist alive, which might be a backhanded compliment. I can't figure that out.
Yeah, just consider the category.
I was thinking that way.
I don't know who I beat out for that. I don't know. Okay, so yeah, it's like saying, I don't get big-headed about it.
Okay, well, it's a compliment. You know, sexy is something. You will soon be hosting Cosmos, a space.
Well, it's not always a compliment to be objectified.
Oh, okay, yeah. Oh, that's true, actually, yeah. Okay. I guess as men, we're not used to it.
Yeah, as men, it's a weird thing.
We don't have the reaction that a lot of women are like, don't objectify me.
Right. Okay. Right. I'm just saying it's not always, but I didn't mind. That was fine.
That was all right.
Yeah.
You will soon be hosting Cosmos, a Space Time Odyssey, which is a sequel to Carl Sagan's television show, Cosmos, A Personal Journey.
Correct.
From the 80s.
From 1980.
From 1980, exactly, right. Welcome to London Real.
Thank you.
Thanks for being here. You know, I took my daughter to the Greenwich Observatory a few weeks ago, and I showed her like the old Victorian telescope, like the 28-inch and 28 feet long, and we saw like the different meridians. It was like the Airy Meridian and the Haley Meridian. Yeah. All these guys had like literally drawn lines in the sand, and then the longitude clocks are there. And I was just wondering, when you land in Heathrow Airport and you think of London, do you think about that historical astronomy stuff, or do you think of completely other things?
I landed in London. I don't think of Greenwich. I mean, Greenwich is another city, right, outside of London.
It is. It's a few miles out.
Yeah. So, I mean, it's of course it's just across the Thames, I guess, right?
Yeah,
or something.
it's south of the river.
Yeah. So, no, I don't think of that. I do revel in the fact that I'm on the Prime Meridian's time zone.
Okay.
I'm very aware of that. I like knowing that, and it's the referent for all other. I don't know how many Londoners walk up and down every day thinking that. I think that it's just the time, right?
Yeah.
But I think, but in doing so, I don't necessarily think Greenwich Observatory. Okay. It's just once that line got set up, you won. You won that contest.
Yeah.
In London, they beat out Paris for the line.
That was the next in line.
Paris
right?
was very close.
And it was
to
Victorian
getting it.
England that was just fighting.
Yeah. So, and either city could have had it, because when you continue the line to the other side of the world, you get the international date line, and you're just in the middle of the Pacific. So, the Pacific wouldn't care.
Yeah, they weren't fighting.
where the international date line would go. So, the distance between Paris and London is not large enough to have made a difference on the other side of the world.
Right. So
because the lines would cross and be like that.
It'd be like that. What do you associate with London? When was the first time you came here?
It's basically the first international city I ever visited. I was 14.
14.
Okay. Yeah, I came alone, actually. And I was on an expedition. It was the first stop before an expedition to Stonehenge.
Okay.
And
high school
in
trip?
the Salisbury Plain. I was in high school at the time, but no, I was alone. I didn't fly with a group. The expedition part was with a group, but I came to London early to tour London. And so that was my first time here. And looking at the tube, that was interesting because I knew the New York City subway system. Sure. So everyone talked about the tube. So I rode the tube.
Were you impressed?
I felt very. No, I wasn't impressed with it. The New York City subway is 10 times the size. Oh, there's no contest.
Is it still?
There's no contest.
But they have cushioned seats on the London tube. I spent 4 years in New York City. When they had cushion on them, I was like, this would last about a day.
Well, yeah, and actually you hardly ever get to sit. So who's noticing? No, it's the New York City subway moves 3 billion people a year. There's some crazy number of people moved every year, like billion people every year. So the sheer scale is not commensurate. But I felt very comfortable. I felt at home. I felt urban because I'm born and raised in New York City. So, and back then it was a little grittier. The cars were a little more exhausty, if there's such a word. And I think in the early 70s, England had just recently switched to a decimal monetary system.
Okay, because for the currency.
Yeah, the currency.
Okay.
And so people were talking about it, and I never knew what a shilling, pence, or any of this that was. Yeah, I just never knew. So I was intrigued. I felt curiously a foreigner, yet at home.
Okay.
A big city, yet, people speak differently.
Yeah, a little bit. You catch up to it for a while. The black cabbies are a little tough. I'm from San Diego, and I remember as a kid, probably at 10 years old, I had a single mother. We had 3 kids in the house, and I remember her walking around the house saying, billions and billions and billions of stars. She used to actually kind of get up in my face about it a little bit. And I actually hadn't seen the show, but she was fascinated by Carl and the show.
And of course, he never said billions and billions.
I read that. He said billions upon billions, right?
No, never. Well, no.
Did he write a book about that later?
There was a book,
right?
One of his last books called Billions and Billions.
Okay.
Just to sort of just get it out there. And
so this is like a meme gone
Johnny
wrong.
Carson said billions and billions while imitating Carl Sagan.
Okay.
Yeah.
How did Carl...
Johnny Carson, two hosts ago of the New York of America's Tonight Show.
Yeah, I remember him. Mm-hmm. It dates us a bit.
Yeah.
So how did Carl transcend science so much at the time? Because there was no social media back then. There was no Twitter. It had to be him as a person and the production value of the show.
Yeah. So I think what I learned from Cosmos, because I was already established as in my career path to become an astrophysicist. So his science expositions didn't influence me to become a scientist. What they did influence, it was kind of like an existence proof for me that it is possible for a scientist to have a bedside manner, a fireside, wow, I can just put him here. And when he's on the TV, he's actually like on the couch next to me, talking to me. He's not lecturing, he's not pontificating, he's just having a conversation. And he's speaking with a sort of poetic grace that you had never heard before out of the vocabulary of a scientist of any kind. And there's scientists who could find some interesting elements of their profession and share them with you, and then you'd sort of meet them halfway because it was interesting. With Carl Sagan, he took steps beyond that, in which he would find something interesting and then show why it mattered to you, or why it should matter to you, why you should care, take it to heart. So science became not only an intellectual exercise, but an emotional one. And realizing that that was possible told me that if I'm ever in a position to bring science to the public, that's how I'm going to that's what I'm going to attempt to do. And it requires some socialization, right? You got to know who you're talking to and why and what they're thinking. And that doesn't normally go on in a professor's lecture hall. The professor's under no obligation to care what's going on in your head while that lecture is being given. It's your responsibility to learn the material. You're paying for this privilege to learn. But in the real world, on television, in books, there's a different kind of contract with the consumer of that product. And to be successful, that contract has to fully embrace who and what the consumer of that product is. The reader, the viewer, the listener.
Did you change your style after watching Cosmos?
I didn't really have a style. I was
have a
just
style.
entering graduate school. My
Okay.
first year of graduate school was 1980.
Okay.
So, no, I'd given some talks and things, but looking at his way, I said, yeah, if I need that, that's what I'm going to reach for. Oh, yeah.
And so on that same note, how do you transcend science? I mean, I'm guessing you didn't create the person that you are. You didn't say, I want to be this guy at this point in my life.
No. Yeah, no, it's just, so...
I mean, you're a kid from the Bronx.
Yeah, the Bronx. so I am not, I just am, okay? If I had my way, I would just stay home, okay? I would just stay home. But what happens is but I happen to live in New York City, and the universe flinches, and the press, the media, they call me up, and they send the action camera truck, or I taxi in, right? And I comment on the explosion in the sun, the asteroid that was just discovered, the new planet that was found, the next mission to Pluto, whatever, and then I go home. I would say 15%, no more, of all the occasions I'm on the telly, it's because, 15% is because I wrote a book, and so the marketing people got me on a show, right? So you expect that. That's how that whole system works. All the other times I'm on television, it's because I was called by the gatekeepers of the news who judged that something happened in the universe was interesting enough to talk about. So when being called to do that, I say to myself, well, I'd like to do as good a job as I can. They ask me a question, and I look at their eyes, their eyebrows. Are they responding? Who is their audience? And so I think about it. I say, well, what responses would resonate with this interviewer or that audience at this time of day? And what references, what analogies would best serve this topic? And that's what comes out in the interview. And then I did that, and I found that they kept coming back. So this visibility rises, not because I had any such objectives at all, but because I'm happy to report that there's an appetite for the cosmos out there. And the gatekeepers of news wouldn't put it on the news unless they judged that their audience was going to enjoy the news story. And I remember in the early days that I'd get called in, it would be in our morning news programs, they're usually multiple hours. And if you're in the second hour versus the third hour, the news gets softer and softer. And the celebrity interviews and the recipes and the cooking demonstrations are in the third hour. So in the early days, the cosmic interviews, I found they were in the third hour. So they were viewing it as sort of public interest, but not news. And then it sort of moved into the second hour. Now it's in the first hour. Every time I appear in the morning news, it's in the first half hour. They're judging what NASA does, what happens in the universe, all of these phenomena as news that is deserving of the first hour's priorities.
Is that because people care more now, or do you think
I can only judge that people care more about
or
it.
is it because of you?
I don't know. It could be a little of both, that I'm enabling them to foster the audience they know is going to then watch it for that reason, perhaps. But my simple point is I'm serving a public appetite. That's what I'm doing, and I'm happy to do it. It's a privilege to be, and it's an awesome responsibility, all right, to do it, to get it right, as a servant. That's a responsibility. But if I had my way, I would just stay home. And so
I find that hard to believe.
Now, what I do that's active is I write books. So I've written 10 books. 3 were co-authored of that. And but I'm home writing. That's why when I write a book, I'm at home writing. I'm not on TV writing. I'm at home. Also, I feed a Twitter account. And I don't know if you're going to get to that, but I have tweet-worthy thoughts all the time.
You're known for a guy that can put your thoughts into 140 characters.
Well, no, it's not that I can put them in 140 characters. Is that before Twitter, I had 140 character thoughts all the time. All right, except I just shared them with myself. Okay, I would just observe the world, and I'd have a thought.
You said there was nothing as brilliant as a haiku. You've said.
Well,
before.
no, so a tweet is essential if it's written in a way that's informative, but can still fit. It's kind of like a haiku. It's like all the fat is trimmed, and it's the essence of an idea laid to a sequence of words. And so there's some, I don't intentionally compose haikus, but when I read haikus, I think of some tweets that I had composed. There's some correspondence there. So I'm just saying I have those thoughts all the time. Random thoughts. That's why people say, oh, can you tell me about dark matter? They tweet back. Dark matter, dark energy, the moon. I say, no, this is not a Q&A service. You're just eavesdropping on my random brain thoughts every day.
Okay. So
that's why they're everywhere. There's no rhyme or reason to them.
To your Twitter feed.
Yeah, there's sports, there's
random.
culture, there's because that's what I'm thinking at the moment.
So it's the perfect social media for you.
Yeah, and I rarely tweet where I am because that's not.
I noticed you hadn't mentioned London in your feed, so you get stalkers. So
no. It's yeah. I just don't. I don't presume that someone is interested, whether or not they are, in what I'm doing from minute to minute in a day. If that's what I reported, I'm not being an educator. I'm being that's cultism.
Okay.
Right. So.
You make sure you use it for a certain purpose.
Yeah, I'm an educator and a scientist, so let my tweets be that. So there was one, I did tweet my location. May I share this? You have
Yes.
the time for this. I was in the Charlotte, North Carolina airport. And if you go from like a real plane to one of the puddle jumping planes in that airport, I swear it's 1 or 2 miles in the airport. I swear. Whether or not it is that, it feels that way. So there I am walking, and then you get to the motor walkway, so you do that. But then there's still walking, and you're still walking, and you're still walking. I had to tweet something about it. I said, I can't wait till we harness wormholes so that any 2 gates in an airport can just be adjacent to one another. Okay? And I thought I was being clever, It's like, here, look at my tweet. And someone tweeted back, if we harness the power of wormholes, we wouldn't need airports. It was like, okay, you got me there.
Yes.
So that was a case where I'm making an observation about an event in my life, and it triggered some clever replies, cleverer than even my tweet itself.
Does a lot of your fan base come from Twitter?
I don't know.
Okay.
I don't know. I wake up every morning astonished that I forget the I. I wake up every morning astonished that an astrophysicist can have 1.7 million Twitter followers. That's what? No. What? Did I remind you that I'm an astrophysicist? Did you forget this? Did you? I am as surprised. I'm astonished. I'm surprised and astonished. I'm delighted that like I said, that the appetite is out there. But I'm just, like I said, sharing my thoughts.
Okay.
And that number is growing. It's been growing steadily. And I think it bodes well for the future of science literacy that people have that kind of
That people are this interested.
curiosity, right?
Yeah.
But I don't, like I said, it's not a mission statement to grow the number. It's not a mission statement to be visible. It's not, for me, it's not. In fact, after Cosmos airs, I just want to go to the Bahamas.
I think it's really hard to fake a genuine persona, someone who's genuinely inspired and interested in what they do these days when it comes to podcasting, when it comes to social media, when it comes to you being in the media so much. And that if people don't feel your genuine interest and passion for it, then you can't sell them something 30 minutes.
Well, exactly. No, you make an important point. You're right. I'm not selling anything, not even the universe, figuratively or literally. You are eavesdropping on my enthusiasm for my own work.
Right.
That's really what's happening here.
Right.
And I'm happy to bring you along. But the minute I am not effective, or the minute people start wailing or complain, I'll just go home. I don't, like I said.
Well, I think it was Carl Sagan that once said there were two reasons that scientists to explain science. One was to promote funding of science,
Yeah.
which is, I guess, their reproductive organs. And the second one, it was just the pure excitement of communicating one's own excitement about science.
Yeah, I would say that when you communicate your excitement about science, the public gets excited about the science, and then they vote in ways that stimulate funding to support the science. So I would say one leads to the other.
Okay.
Yeah.
You're a jazz fan.
I like jazz, but I don't claim deep
Okay.
expertise. I enjoy listening to jazz. And in the genre, I would specify that my favorite is the blues.
Right. And Buddy Holly.
Well, yeah, I mean, some, not all, not the full repertoire, but I handpick. So, I like it. But I wouldn't go to a jazz convention.
Okay.
And compare who's got the vinyl first pressing of whomever. So, but I have my playlist carry me through.
Okay. Well, Miles Davis, I think, once said, you can't do what you just did. I guess it was a way of him saying that jazz was about improvisation. And okay, I'm going to take that parallel to maybe the cosmos. You're rebooting something from a long time ago. So I was wondering, why do it for you? Why do it now, of all things?
Yeah, great reference to Miles Davis there. What that implies is when you create, if it's on the spot and it's live, it's something that's never been created before, even if the notes are the same on the page.
Right, or will be created again.
Yeah, exactly, because the moment defines the creative expression. And I feel that way when I give talks, if I backdoor my way to answer your question. When I give a talk, there are people, hosts, public talk, there are hosts of that event who will say, "Oh, could you send your talk in advance?" It's like, huh? No, the talk is the talk that I give at that time, at that moment, to that audience. There is no talk in advance. If I could send a talk in advance, I would do that and I would stay home. Again, let me get back home referencing here.
A lot of home references.
I don't need to, if that's, all right, but the talk is my interaction with your live audience. That's the talk. And so I feel the same way that Miles Davis felt when he spoke those words. So Cosmos is the continuation, not a reboot. That showed up in an early press release, but it's not a reboot. It's a continuation of that journey. And this one is Cosmos as Space Time Odyssey, and I'm hosting it. When I had the opportunity to do so, again, I was just at home. And I thought to myself, all right, I met Carl Sagan when I was 17. He invited me to his office at Cornell University.
So you were already going to Cornell to tour it, and then they knew you liked Carl, and they put you two together?
No, it was
recruited
deeper
you.
than that. It was, I was accepted at Cornell, still a senior in high school, and unknown to me, the admissions office forwarded my application, which was dripping with the universe because I knew what I wanted to study, forwarded that application to Carl Sagan. He then, on his own initiative, sent me a letter. Neil Tyson from Carl Sagan said, is this like the Carl Sagan? He was already famous. He hadn't done Cosmos yet, but he was already famous. And I said, why does he write me a letter? I opened it up. He said, I understand you're considering Cornell. If you'd like to come by and visit, I'd be happy to show you around to help you decide whether this is where you want to go. It's like, whoa, who am I? So I went up there. He met me on a Saturday outside the lab, and we went up and we toured the facility, talked about the universe, talked about the Viking mission that was being imagined at the time. And this is the Viking craft that did a tour of the planets and now made the news a few months ago for exiting the solar system.
Is it the furthest piece of man-made material?
Farthest piece of human touch thing ever.
To watch the rest of this fascinating interview, click on the link below and go to londonrealacademy.com. There you can sign in with your social media login and watch the rest of the episode for free, along with all of our episodes on London Real, my webinars, and all of our premium content, all located over at londonrealacademy.com. So click on the link below, you'll be directed there, and you can watch the rest of this fascinating interview, and I'll see you there.
So that touched me. And then one of my favorite, I'm in his office